I want to take a few minutes to talk about Black Americans, right? As a Black American, as an African American, our current condition, right, in terms of male and female relationships, looking at the current condition as it stands right now in 2023, Black Americans, we have the lowest rate of marriage of any racial demographic in the United States of America. We have the highest rate of single parenthood of any race of people in the United States of America. We also have the highest rate of sexually transmitted diseases of any demographic per capita in the United States of America. We also have the highest rate of abortion of any racial demographic per capita in the United States of America. Why do I bring all this out? And what I want to talk about here really is how we have fallen out of love with one another. What a lot of people don't realize is that human beings are products of their environment in much more ways than I think a lot of people actually give credit to. And I believe that the modern man and the modern woman are very much so a product of social programming and social engineering. Okay, it is in the nature of people to push the limits, right? In other words, if you put a group of children or people in a classroom and you don't set any boundaries and you just expect them to do the right thing, well, the reality of the situation is that you're going to realize that they're not just going to do the right thing. They need to be taught. And even if they don't intentionally do the thing that is wrong, they're going to mess up. It is innately the nature of a human being to sin, to do things that can be wrong. And it's not something that people do all the time. It's just that these are certain things that certain people struggle with, and definitely depending on the circumstances of their actual life. Okay, so for example, if a child is in a classroom and is having a lot of trouble at home, right? If he or she is dealing with an abusive family or a lot of emotional roller coasters at home, dealing with different battles, different things of this sort, it's much more likely that that child is going to come to class and be disruptive. It's much more likely that that child is going to, break the rules, so to speak, especially if you don't set strict boundaries. And this is evident in the fact that the prison house is basically full of children who were raised in single parent households, right? People who come from, very troubled pasts. A lot of times, these are the people who are more so at risk to finding themselves going down a path of waywardness, right? So what you see and what you can conclude from that is that the worse society goes, the more society decays, the more it will decay. The increasing, it will continue to decay at an even faster rate of speed, right? And this is why I'm having this conversation, and I want to talk about this, all right? So this is my opinion, right? And we all can have different opinions. I don't think anyone's really been able to pinpoint in terms of how and exactly when Black folks kind of fell out of love with one another. But what we do know, statistically speaking, is that up until the 1960s, Black Americans, we had the highest rate of marriage of any racial demographic of people in the United States of America. Okay, you fast forward now, 70, 80 years, we have the lowest, right? So the question is, what happened? Okay, what has happened? And when you just put a timeline on these things, you can see that the feminist movement, okay, I'm not saying that this is the primary culprit. I'm saying that society in America took a drastic change, okay, in the 1960s. There began to be this promotion of the woman, right? To the point where we now, or society is now preaching independence, a woman independent from a man, a woman's rights, a woman basically competing in the workforce with men. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that women shouldn't be in the workforce or shouldn't be professional or shouldn't, utilize their talents and gifts and so forth. But the reality of the situation is that life is not for every woman. And a lot of women don't realize this until much later in life, that feminist propaganda is really a farce. It's really not all it's wrapped up to be. And that it actually is more important for a woman, and a woman will actually have and achieve more happiness by having a much more balanced lifestyle. But if she had to lean one way, left or right, I believe that a lot of women, even in the corporate world, would trade in that corporate career and whatever comes with that for a beautiful family with children and grandchildren and a household with a husband filled with love, where the father of that household is taking care of majority, if not all, of the monetary responsibilities and many of the other manly duties that a man would take care of around the house, okay? And allowing that woman to really rest and just be, for lack of better words, like a homemaker or someone who is taking care of the household, AKA a traditional woman. So you see, so there was a dramatic change, right? The feminist movement literally changed laws. Laws changed, policies changed, so on and so forth. And this is social programming. Okay. Then, of course, we know if you fast forward another 15 years, you get to the 1980s and you have this thing called the war on drugs, right? In my opinion, the 1980s was probably, the 80s and 90s was probably one of the saddest chapters in American history for Black America, besides freaking slavery. And I say the saddest chapter because we go from a people of racial pride and dignity to a people who resort to poisoning one another, right? People allowing poverty and a lack of opportunity to cause them to compromise their integrity to the point of selling poison in the neighborhoods to their own people, right? And a lot of people suffered from this, okay? Now, add to that the fact that this war on drugs came, which really was a war on Black America, which led to high rates of incarceration, right? You see very harsh laws being passed to, punish these drug dealers, right? Now, the war on drugs, as you look at this, and I don't want to get into a whole conversation about the war on drugs, but I think this is really one of the most racist things that's ever happened in this country. The war on drugs, Black people don't produce cocaine. Okay. Cocaine, you can't even make cocaine in America. It comes from somewhere else. So it seemed as though the laws were much more harsh in America in general. Society in general had much more smoke for the poor Black person selling drugs, nickel and diming to get by, or the poor Black person, selling their body or whatever it might be to get high, right? They use these as opportunities to demonize the Black man and Black woman, to throw them away, to put them in jail, to stir up all this hatred for Black people, rather than looking at the root of the problem, which is in the southern border. But that is a whole nother conversation, right? But this is how that played out. It played out as a media tool to paint the Black man as this boogeyman, as this evil, wicked person, this enemy to society. And even in 2023, a lot of Black men, we still face this stereotype. We still are fighting against this trope. And it's not something that's only pushed by society. It's also pushed by people within our own neighborhoods, right? Meaning that, as Pastor Troy said in his song, Old Father, he said, my people roll their window up and then they hit in the locks. It's messed up, but that's the way it is down here on the block. Meaning that there is a tremendous amount of mistrust, a lack of trust between Black men and Black women. There is this stereotypical viewpoint. And I'm not saying that all of that is a result of social programming, because there definitely are some Black folks that you probably that you shouldn't trust. But I think that it is promoted on a level that is beyond reality. Okay. And you have to at some point challenge, where does this come from? And I believe that this comes from the societal programming of the war on drugs, which really was responsible for the criminalization of the Black man in general, marking him as a criminal, right, for the next 50 years, marking him as a bad guy for the next 60 years, right? And this is what that did. So now you fast forward past the 80s. Now, this is the other aspect of this, right? We're talking about social programming, okay? These are all elements of social engineering and social programming, right? Then you fast forward to the 1990s and you start to see some changes, okay? And if we're being honest, It was birthed out of hip hop. Hip hop gave birth to a cultural awakening, like a Renaissance movement, so to speak, within the Black American community, okay? Because at this time, hip hop was brand new. You had rap groups and rap artists who had positive messages at that time. LL Cool J and even people like Tupac Shakur, who were actually shedding light on societal problems. Like music, hip hop music was a force to be reckoned with. And it was actually shedding light and really doing some positive things in terms of shedding light on things that were going on in the community and was leaving people with hope. Now, we have to give credit where it's due. That phenomenon of music being encouraging to the Black community did not start with hip hop. You can go back in the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s. You got the Stylistics, you got the Gap Band, you got Michael Jackson, you got all these phenomenal Black cultural musicians who are positively impacting the Black community. And this was always one of the secret strengths of the Black American community, because we know how much we like to party. We know how much we like to dance. We know our rhythm and our spirit and everything that comes with that. We are gifted, and everyone in the world knows this, right? Some of the most talented people who've ever walked the planet Earth were African Americans, were entertainers, were musicians and so forth, were showmen and showwomen. And this gift was always used in a positive way to stir up the people to move their lives in a direction of love and unity and overall togetherness for the community. But this movement of the 1990s was quickly destroyed. And let me tell you guys how this happened. First and foremost, R&B music has basically been eradicated, okay? If you think about it, in the late 90s and early 2000s, you had Jodeci, you had, Genuine, you had 112, you got countless R&B musicians and bands who promoted more of a loving spirit, right? There was more love. There was love music. There was music that a couple could play together, and it wasn't all sexual. Okay. It's not just like straight to the sheets. No, this is about you and me, and I like you and you like me, and we're going to explore this thing that we call love. And it doesn't have to involve any type of sex. It's just us enjoying and living our lives and loving up on one another and really doing the mechanics, the A, B's, and C's, the fundamentals of a relationship. Because a steady relationship is not built on sex. Okay. It's a steady relationship is built on a friendship and a genuine connection between two people, because the majority of time you spend married to that person ain't going to involve sex. It's just not. It's going to involve interacting with this person, on a relationship level, like a person to person level. So that's what the music reflected. But things changed, right? The degradation of R&B music and the degradation of hip hop music, in my opinion, has really handicapped the Black community and has actually accelerated this division between Black men and Black women. Because Black folks with common sense can sit back and see that culture is toxic, and they don't want to have anything to do with that ghetto, raggedy, ratchet culture. They don't want to have anything to do with that. Okay. So we have to, and in my opinion, and I would say a solution to this is that we have to get away from this hyper materialistic, hyper sexualized music. This ultra aggressive culture is moving our people backwards. And I have to spend a few moments here to say this. Black men have kind of taken on the identity of the thug, right? And kind of tried to use that to their advantage. So, and I'm going to be more specific. Rather than a person, let's say, for example, someone like Tupac, right? Tupac needed therapy. Tupac needed to sit down with a professional who could help him to work through his problems in a constructive way. But Tupac decided to go down the dark path, right? He decided to tat thug life on his body, like more so embrace the things that he was taught that were wrong, that would ultimately lead to his destruction and his death. But what we see in the midst of that is that him embracing that identity was something that reverberated within the Black community. A lot of folks started to feel the same way. So what we have in the Black community for us as Black men is this good versus evil battle. We have this angel versus this devil, this demon versus this saint battle, this good versus evil battle happening in the Black community. Here's the reality, right? We know that a lot of the problems that we face today are more or less a result of things that we have inherited that are outside the scope of our control, things that we were born into, right? So what that does to a person is it makes them feel like you begin to normalize that type of negativity, right? And this is how our communities have become defeated. We've normalized negativity. We've normalized this devil, this demon that exists in our community. We've normalized it. We've propped it up even, and we've given it a seat of power and hierarchy in our communities. People have worshiped things that were evil and have rejected the things that are holy and righteous and the things that are supposed to be propped up. Okay. Because good have more power than evil, but it ain't until you embrace good and actually use the good as a weapon, as a sword, as a shield, as everything, that it can actually defeat the evil that's amongst us. So we have to choose to do that which is good and deal with our problems and our traumas in a responsible way. See, because as much as we want to say that, okay, society, things are outside of our control, we still are the ones who are making the decisions for our lives on a day-to-day basis. It's not like someone's making you commit sin or making you go down a path of darkness. A person has choices and you have to choose. And I believe people need to start or should always choose to do things the right way, right? Including myself. I have to also reject things that are wrong. I have to also check myself, right? Because I grew up in a very aggressive and untrustworthy environment. So I tend to carry some of these things with me into the world. I don't always like to show certain things because I'm not trying to scare people. So I try to soften it. But the reality is that my upbringing and the upbringing of a lot of people who come from where I come from was incredibly rough, was incredibly traumatic, was incredibly an emotional roller coaster due to the instability of our families and our homes and other things that were going on in our neighborhood around us. Okay, namely high levels of poverty, high levels of drug use, high levels of single parenthood. We've normalized all types of dysfunction. I got 8, 9 friends and Black male friends. And out of the 8, 9 of us, it's probably 1, maybe 2 of us who we can go to their house and a mom and dad both in that house. Other than that, it's just mom. See, this have become a big problem in the Black community. No matter how much we want to, try to avoid it or run from it, this has become a big problem. And we need to address these things, right? It boils down to making healthy decisions. Now, let me talk about the women. Man, this one hits home to me and it's very near and dear to my heart because ladies have to understand that from the beginning, you have always been the target of the devil, of the wicked one, of the evil one. What I mean by the target, see, the devil wants all of us. He wants to destroy all of us. He wants to destroy our families. He wants to see us not even exist as a people. That's what the devil wants to do, steal, kill, and destroy. But you, sister, you are the point of his attack. You are the person that he is trying to use. And it's always been this way from the beginning. This is why when you look into the scriptures make it very plain that the devil, the serpent, went straight to Eve and started having this dialogue with Eve, started trying to sell Eve these ideas. And he, through these things, taught her lies and wickedness. Now, why didn't the serpent go to Adam? Right? Because he probably knew Adam heard the command directly from God. Adam was in a position of leadership. Adam probably would have stood on what was right. He would have probably stood on it. But if the serpent can get the woman, then the woman can now manipulate and teach the man, right? Because that man is going to basically try to do his best to please his woman. So if he can corrupt the thought and the hearts of the woman, then he can also leverage his relationship with that woman to bring down the man, and through that, the whole family. And this is what we've seen in the black community. We've seen this like more so in the last, I would say 15, 20 years. You see that the media has a way of painting black women, painting black relationships, that is very negative. And these are the things that need to change, right? I think that women should understand that as men, we shouldn't, like, I heard a woman say that a man needs to take what he wants, right? He needs to come in there and just take charge of things and do this and do that. And while I agree that, that's a portion of it, that there are times when a man has to put his foot down and so on and so forth, I think it's much more constructive, and it's much better to have a woman who just gets it. Okay. A woman who just knows what to do. Okay. We don't always want to fight you. We shouldn't have to fight you and force you to submit to us in every given situation. There are times when you must exercise wisdom as a woman and understand that this man is the representative that the Most High God have put in your life to lead. Okay. And understand it from that perspective. Your submission to his headship or leadership is not all about you. It's not all about him. It's about all of us. When you look at the relationship between the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, you begin to see that, even as the scriptures describe it, as the Godhead. There's a special relationship between these three that as a unit form this thing that we call God, right? And they can make moves and do incredible things. So is true for the family. There is a relationship between husband, wife, and child, right? Husband, wife, children, and God. And when all of those things are in unison perfectly and they're working correctly, then you have an opportunity to really change this world in a very positive way. Okay, a very positive way. So I think women can understand that from that perspective, right? And this is the other thing. I believe personally that a lot of women, a lot of sisters, right? Because a lot of sisters are just incredible, right? We know this. Black women, y'all are incredible. Y'all are gifted. Y'all are talented. Y'all got it. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. Y'all got it going on for real. Like, you got it all. This is the thing that I've learned in life is that your gifts will make a way for you, right? But too much emphasis on yourself can actually cause you to fracture relationships that you have or that you could have with others. Okay. So the moral of the story is that sometimes, and I think a lot of times it's very helpful for us as people to check our egos, right? Because if I don't check my ego, I'm going to always think I'm right. I'm going to always think that I have the right to talk to you a certain way because I'm right. Right? I have a point to prove. I'm going to always prove it. I'm going to pick every battle to fight because I'm right, because I have this ego thing, right? And I think a lot of our sisters deal with this. They deal with this ego problem, this egotistical pride that really takes women down a path of darkness and really ugliness, to be honest. Like, beauty is not just external. Pride and egotism can lead a woman down a path of wickedness and darkness. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't be a reward at the end of that, right? This is the trap that Eve fell for. Her reward was that quote unquote fruit, right? And her eyes being opened, right? That was the reward that the devil told her she was going to receive. And she got that. But what she didn't realize was what she was about to lose by choosing to make that deal with the devil. So I want to encourage the women today. Don't make no deals with the devil. Don't sit up here and compromise with the wicked one, with the enemy. No, unplug. Understand this. I'm going to say this, then I'm going to get out of here. You have to unplug from the matrix. Okay, what I'm saying is not a new concept. Understand that the movie Terminator and the movie Matrix were both written by a black woman who was trying to show society something. This is a Christian black woman who was trying to show people something within the movie Matrix to understand that there is a level of social programming going on, and it is heavy, and the majority of people are plugged into it. So you have to be careful and unplug from the matrix and separate yourself from the wicked one, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? In this world, and tap into the true source of life. Because if you don't, you will be destroyed. You can be destroyed. You will have much more success if you unplug from the matrix. You'll be for real. You're going to be involved in the real life, in the real battle, right? The real battle for our lives, which we are in. Understand that the scriptures and all the stories of the Bible, these things are real. These are not made up fictional stories. We are in the fight of our lives. This is survival of the fittest in real time. And it is incredibly important, I believe, more so now than it's ever been in the history of your life, in the history of my life, right? For us to be diligent and be careful from the social programming of this world, particularly the Western world. We know, and I'm going to say this and I'm out of here for real. We know that this Western world is trying to push a lot of things into the world that are asinine and ass backwards, okay? Very much so bad for society, teaching pure confusion, pure evil, right? We know this is what's going on. I mean, we see it evident in some of the laws that are being passed, okay? So you have to, and I have to remain diligent. You have to be able to separate yourself from the raggedy standards of this world and refuse to be socially engineered and socially programmed, right? Draw the line in the sand, and don't allow this system to get you misconstrued, okay? Because this misconstruction, if you will, is how we have fallen out of love with one another. We have to understand this. It's not up to this world to give us whatever it is that we need for our people to survive and do well and all of that. It's going to be up to us. We have to cultivate our own garden. You know what I'm saying? We have to, till our own land. You know what I'm saying? And we have to create within our community the solutions that we can utilize or take advantage of to propel us forward. And I believe that it's going to be important for people to network, right, with the right groups of people, to stay away from other groups of people, but to network with the right people who have the right vision, okay? And though they may be few, though that may be the minority, that is your home, that is your family, those is your people, that's your, you know what I mean? That's going to be your everything. So I pray that upon you, and, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, these are just my thoughts on how we as Black Americans have fallen out of love with one another, why the marriage rates are so low. It's the normalization of wickedness, of evil, of sin, the normalization of the social programming that we have become accustomed to over the years. Okay. And these are the things that needs to stop. We have to stop accepting this social programming and be strong. Okay. Men, we got to, do our part to be strong leaders within our community. Right. And encourage our women to be feminine, encourage our women to take care of the house, to be homemakers. You understand what I'm saying? Encourage that, help the Black woman to understand that this is the role that I need you to play. It's not out of me controlling you. It's out of love. This is bigger than just you and me and whatever. This is bigger than what you want, right? This is about us. This is about our whole family. This is about our survival as a people in this place and at this time, right? This is about the big picture. So put yourself in position, brothers, to win and to kind of have some leverage in these types of situations so you have a higher probability of being successful, right? That means putting in the work to be the best version of yourself that you can be, right? Gravitating from this block mentality, from this hood mentality or whatever it might be, like gravitating from that, right? Letting go of, this anti-Black narrative. And it's not just Black men who have it, it's Black women as well, too. We have there is a strong phenomenon of anti-Blackness within the Black community that pushes Black people away from one another. This promotion of whiteness and things that are common or normal within society. This self-rejection is a real thing that a lot of Black folks demonstrate. And I think it's subconscious and a lot deeper and a lot stronger in our community than a lot of people are willing to realize or accept. And these are things that we all have to challenge on a daily basis. All right. So, hey, life is beautiful. Life is beautiful. It's meant to be lived with the people that God has blessed to be in your life, right? He's blessed you with these people. So you know, enjoy them, love them, right? The right way. You know what I'm saying? And separate yourself from a wicked society, from wicked people who want to just bring you down and destroy you, right? We're talking about the people who the devil is using, already got control of them. You know what I'm saying? Got them out here, you know, acting a certain way. The devil got them persons, got those people. Don't let those people influence you to knock you off of your game, right? You have to learn how to separate yourself. Unfortunately, that's what has to happen, right? The Bible talks about, the Bible talks about, a third of the people, right, getting through these tribulation times. Okay. Now, hey, I pray that that 95% of us make it, right, and can see the light and can make the right decisions and so forth. But I have to be real, and I have to say, you know what, that's probably not going to be the case. It's probably going to be, the blessed, right, of God, and the people who recognize the calling that is on them and actually cherish that thing, whatever that thing is, whatever that calling is, whatever that thing is, what you feel, what you know. I don't have to explain it to you. I don't have to convince you. You know it because it's in you and it's a witness. Whatever that thing is, those people who cultivate that and take care of that and continue to allow the power that instilled that in you to shape you and continue to reject the influences and the social programming of this world and stand up on the integrity that they need to have to stay firm. Those are the people who will continue, people who will live, people who will be, saved and make it through this time period. Okay. Into forever, for real. All right. So, hey, I just want to leave y'all with this, I hope y'all got some benefit out of this. All right. Till we chat again, it's Urban Politics, and I'm checking out.